Good evening, everybody. It's exactly 11 here, but over there, I think it's 7 o'clock. It's so nice to see fellow Malaysians' faces, names, and kopitiams, which is what I really miss. Right. Today is going to be very exciting because I'm going to really breeze through this in a very exciting way. I must say thank you very much to the organizers and also to Datin Poli for inviting me here, because when she first asked about doing a talk, I said, yeah, but I'm going to be in the UK. And she said, no, just try and do this online. And I said, okay, we'll try it. So originally, I think I was going to speak at some unearthly hour, like 3 a.m. in the morning. I thought, a bit tricky because unlike Malaysia, the UK houses are made of very thin walls because they're done in cardboard or board. And which means if I speak, the entire house will hear me at 3 o'clock in the morning. So thank you very much for rescheduling the time. This is the perfect time for me to speak. So without further ado, let me start to share the screen and get on to this. I love pictures. I'm a visual person. So if you bear with me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these amazing pictures that conjure really nice images that get the message across. So the topic today is, to me, is really interesting because I actually run a foundation, and the foundation is a youth empowerment foundation. A lot of people say, hey, Terry, we looked at your website. You're Malaysian, but your youth foundation is based in Australia. I say, yeah, there is a very strong reason for that. That's because our first funders said, if you open the foundation in Malaysia, we won't fund you because Malaysia has a very poor reputation in foundations because it's being used as a tax shelter. So put it anywhere but Malaysia. So unfortunately, as a Malaysian, I started in Australia. Yeah. So let's go back to the role of our youth in making things happen. To me, this is so critical because here I am. Every time I get on the stage or online and speak to people, people say, hey, Terry, you're 60 years old. You're a boomer. Why are you spending your time talking to young people? I said, it's very important because we are the boomers who created the problems in the first place. And if we don't resolve the problems, we're handing this planet, which is a very broken planet, to the young people. I can't live with myself if I didn't do anything about it. Yeah. And here I am. I'm not trying to be a hero or whatever, but to me, it's very important to move forward. Yeah. So let's ask a few questions. Yeah. And these questions are basically rhetorical so that we can get our mindset changed. One of the first questions people ask, is there hope? Look at this image, this is a war-torn country. And every other day you switch on the news, this is all you see. It's either war, famine, destruction, floods, and all that. So what can change? Who can change this? Is climate change really exacerbated by human activity? A lot of people say climate change is just a bunch of people trying to promote solar panels. Is it real? Yeah. Will humanity ever meet the 17 Sustainable Development Goals set by the United Nations? They are really lofty goals, but can we actually meet them? Will there be ever peace on Earth? Especially, speaking to a group of people who obviously congregate in the church, this is what all of us in this universe want, peace on Earth, which is what's been promised. Can we ever deliver this? Yeah. So let's take a look what the Secretary General said. Because I'm in the UK and we had the COP26, the 26th year of having a climate change conference, just as the famous Greta Thunberg said in a very, what people say is a very, well, in Bahasa Malaysia, biadab way, when she said, blah, 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 which is what you guys have been doing for the last 26 years. You adults have congregated in different parts of the world for 26 years discussing climate change and what you can do about climate change. 26 years later, where are we? We're still where we were. Hardly any move has been made. So this is why it is now critical. Now, if you look at his speech here, this is just a clip of his speech. Look at the fourth paragraph. Mr. Guterres also had a message to young people, indigenous communities, and women leaders as well. Now, he singled out young people. You know why? Because he's figured out what all of us figured out, that the only people who can make a shift in this world are the young people. And you know why? Simply because the mindset is young people have the most to lose. I'm 60. In 30 to 40 years, I'm dead. what's there for me? Nothing. But the younger people inherit this earth. And if they don't do anything about it today, there is no earth to inherit. Yeah, this is why it's so critical. This is a typical picture, and this is happening across the world. This picture obviously is in UK and Europe. And if you look across, there are some adults, but mostly below 40, very young people. That's the power of youth today. We have that collective consciousness to go out and make change happen. Now, for me, in my little foundation, we started this several years ago. We have now reached about 100,000 young people across different parts of the world, but mostly in Malaysia. And when we do our talks are designed to actually inspire young people to get up and do something. Even if it's the smallest little thing, it's okay. You don't have to go out and be a Greta Thunberg. Just a small little thing will make a huge change. And with me, I've been invited to speak at other events, which includes the first climate change crisis walk or protest, which was at Publica. It was fun, lots of young people, and this got great coverage. And of course, the top picture there, that's my 28-year-old son from my previous marriage. He's special needs, but even he, as a special needs person, is involved in doing something. So my point is, here we are, able-bodied people. Are we doing anything about it? And there's a special needs young man saying, I want to do something about my world. Cool, yeah? Right. Now let's take a look at some of the challenges. This looks like me, aging global leadership. Now, a lot of people say, what do you mean by aging global leadership? Well, here's a very simple chart, and you look right across from the trend from 1950 to 2022, and the age, even though it's getting younger by age, yeah, but it is still a lot of people averagely are in their 60s and 70s. So that has to change. It is changing, because only when that changes, then the whole mindset and focus changes. Yeah. Here's a wonderful chart of today's 10 leaders in the country who are, in my mind, when I say youth, I mean anybody around 40 and below. Yeah. So in this group, of course, there's some rather strange leaders here, like the North Korean leader, but we won't talk about him. Yeah, but what's interesting is if you look at the likes of Jacinda Ardern of New Zealand, she, together with the likes of Sanna Marin of Finland, are the ones who are driving their countries towards a more conscious society, understanding that there needs to be something done about the world. Yeah, and that's important. Now, why is it has to be only from women? Why can't men do that? Why can't male leaders do that? Of course we can, but there are some points that need to be raised with male leadership. Now, this is the other challenge. Corruption driven by poverty consciousness. What is poverty consciousness? Well, poverty consciousness is when we operate from a place of fear and lack. And this is what's true of many, many politicians. When they are driven by fear and lack, means kiasu is a very big word to them. They don't want to lose, right? They also don't want to lose their position. They don't want to lose the money that they're making. And therefore, they will do everything in their power to ensure that they're forever. And everything that they decide on has to be of benefit to them, not to the collective. And this is why corruption exists. And in the face of corruption, consciousness dies. When a person is corrupted, can they be conscious about saving the planet, helping people? No, because it's me, 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 me. That has to change. If that doesn't change, nothing changes. Yeah, that's amazing chart that talks about the average points. Obviously, when you go at a higher point, that's high corruption. But the average mean is about 43.31 points, right? And unfortunately, as a Malaysian, I'm very embarrassed because I can't even find Malaysia on this list. And these are the least corrupted countries from Denmark downwards. Where's Malaysia? I can't see it. So we need to do something about this, especially as young people. We need to create a different leadership. Yeah. So let's take a look at solutions. I'm not here to talk about problems. I'm here to talk about solutions. Now, collective consciousness. This is so key. And I'm so glad I'm speaking to a group of people who have one faith, and that faith is the one that unites you. And if you remember, the Pope actually garnered, just before climate change, COP26 in Glasgow, a few weeks ago, he actually held an event and he invited all the world's religious leaders to the Vatican. Why did he do that? Because he decided that if the planet has almost 8 billion people, 6 billion people have faith. And if the leaders of all the religions can come together and do something about climate change, imagine the influence that goes right across. So speaking to all of you is, to me, godsend. Thank you very much for being here. Yeah. Collective consciousness is about bringing hope to people. This is what we really, really need. Because every time you switch on the TV, you watch social media, what do you get? Negativity, 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 negativity. Why? Because negative news sells more than positive news. Yeah, if you watch any news, they will put the very nice news at the end. Like, oh, man saves dog from drowning in river. That's one piece of news right at the end. In the beginning is bombs, terrorism, this, that, that. And that's designed because it captures your imagination and holds you, because bad news sells. I know this because for 28 years of my life, I was in the world of public relations. We manage messages. Yeah, this is real. Now, what I'm trying to prove, I'm a proponent of, is something called heart-centered leadership. And what is heart-centered leadership? Heart-centered leadership means having the wisdom, courage, and compassion to lead others with authenticity, transparency, humility, and service. By the way, I'll share all these slides with you. This is my gift to all of you. Yeah, you can have it. And this is key because a lot of people think, hey, Terry, if you run an organization like this, everybody run over your head. No, all new organizations are changing. This is the new leadership. You lead by encouragement and inspiration, not by fear and control, which is the old mindset. Conscious capitalism comes out of heart-centered leadership. It is where you use heart-centered leadership to run organizations or businesses which ensure that every stakeholder, which means everybody involved, especially people and the planet, are well taken care of. Now, this is critical because if we are not running organizations like this, then all we want to do is profit, profit, profit. I don't care about the planet. I don't care about people. If I make them work 24 hours, fine, I just pay them. Yeah. But what happens to people is to the detriment of the people and detriment of the planet. Infinite thinking mindset. This is very critical because all of us think there is going to be the end of the world, right? In less than 20 years, climate change is coming, sorry, in less than 10 years, because 2030 is the so-called deadline, right? So here we need infinite thinking mindset, where if you look at these words already show you that everything in our mind can change if we have infinite thinking mindset. For me, I was stuck in Malaysia for the last 2 years, and my family, my wife and my daughter are in the UK, and I couldn't be with them. And when I was about to celebrate my 60th birthday, I was going to slip into depression, saying, I can't even be with my family on my 60th birthday because of the pandemic. But I allowed myself to have infinite mindset, which means what is the possibility, the infinite possibilities of something changing and me coming. And true enough, within days, the government changed the rules. Malaysians were allowed to leave without any permits or whatever. And I'm here. You see? Infinite thinking mindset. Here's an example, iPad versus Microsoft Surface Pro tablet. These are two brands of tablets, computers, right? iPad is by Apple, Surface Pro is by Microsoft. What's the difference between the two of them? If you walk into any of the technical meetings, when you see the guys in Microsoft, when they are designing the next Surface Pro tablet, all the engineers will come, all the designers will be sitting in a hall like this, and then they have on the screen a picture of the iPad, which is a competitor, yeah, the nemesis. And what are they doing? They are trying to think of ways to compete with that, saying, how do we beat them? How do we be better than them? How do we, make sure that, we can take the market share from them? Blah, 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 blah. So it's always negative as in fighting. Now, iPad, when you look at the iPad group of people that are designers, when you go to the Apple Center, their designers think this way. Do you think they're going to have a picture of the Surface Pro, the competitor, on the screen? No. What do you think they put up there? They put the picture of their latest iPad. Why would they want to put their own picture? They know their product very well. They look at the picture of the latest iPad and the team will say, that's our latest iPad. How do we make it better so that it can change people's lives? How can we make our iPad navigation so simple that a 99-year-old man or woman can handle this? How can we get NGOs to love this machine that can go in the field and not worry about this breaking down, and they can get Wi-Fi anywhere so that they can change the world? That's infinite thinking. See the difference? This is what we need to embrace. All of us need to embrace this. Conscious technology. Again, this is something I absolutely adore, simply because, yes, we can have all the passion, we can have all the verve, but the technology is what moves the world forward. So I'm very fortunate. Aside from a foundation, I actually have another organization that focuses on bringing new technologies to Asia Pacific. So some of these technologies we are partners with, and some of them aren't. Yeah. Here's an example. Imagine the world today if every single power generation is no longer producing any carbon, zero carbon. Well, that thing on the left there with the tube is called the 1 megawatt zero carbon kinetic energy power. I won't describe how it's done, but it is sitting already in Europe, and there's the one in Thailand, and it's powering up with zero carbon, zero fuel, no solar, no wind, nothing. It's here already. So people say, hey, Terry, if it's here already, why aren't we using it? That's a very good question, because obviously I've been doing this for the last 3 years. We have a lot of pushback from the power companies because they don't like us to change the status quo. Why? Because the status quo makes them very rich. For me, to bring this technology changes the level playing field, which means they can't make money from kickbacks. They don't like that. See how challenging it is for things to change. Up there, state-of-the-art wastewater and water filtration systems. All these wastewater systems are powered by fossil fuel today, but our system will be powered by the same power generator, which means it has zero impact on humanity, and it delivers clean water and ensures the water that we pump back in the sea and the rivers are clean. The bottom one, with climate change, all the weather is changing, all the weather patterns changing. So now we've got a team that's built this out of plastic bottles. The entire thing, except the roof, is made entirely from plastic bottles. Isn't that fantastic? So imagine going to a developing country and getting people to collect plastic bottles, which means you help them clean the planet and you deliver to them a beautiful home that can withstand typhoons and hurricanes. Isn't that so awesome? Again, food. A lot of people say, oh, we need to cut down more jungles to grow more food because, we're going to have 8 billion people. We need to obviously, grow lots of stuff and make more fertilizers, blah, 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 which basically kills the planet. So vertical farms is where it. Now, one of the biggest issues with vertical farms is that they use power all the time because it's climate controlled. It's like an air-conditioned room. So it doesn't matter which part of the world you are, it changes the climate according to what the plants need. It doesn't care about the climate outside. But it runs on power, a lot of power, 24 hours a day. It's only possible to make it sustainable using our power system, which is zero impact. Yeah. So the next one, which a lot of people are excited, and I think, Polly, you'll be excited because your husband is involved in some of this, decentralized finance to power change. This is very critical. The world has talked about crypto and all these amazing things. And of course, the mainstream finance world will say, oh, crypto's for crooks, crypto's for terrorists and drug pushers. No, crypto is for the world. It's disengaging from the current very controlled hegemony of the fiat market of money. And unless you do that, we are forever beholden to it. And the way we are designing this with some of our team members is to find a way to ensure that every human being will have some income from a decentralized finance market. Therefore, we raise the level of, not complacency, raise the level of happiness because we remove poverty. Yeah, all this is possible with decentralized systems. And then the last one, for those people who are vegan, vegetarians, is this thing called Impossible Burger. And of course, Polly, you would have heard of this. It's made entirely from plants. Why? Because it means that slowly we move away from things like cattle, because cattle creates a huge carbon impact, yeah? Aside from their farts, and the fact that they need huge amount of greenery, grass to grow, right? So here we go. Now, let's talk about myths, some of the myths that are present in our minds, and hopefully in this talk, I help you change that. Our youth are basically too young to make a difference. Is that true? Now, let's look at this woman. She's a very young woman. She's, I think, 16. Julia Cordova. She is the student body president at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas School. And her friends did something that politicians in America could not do. She incited kids, together with her friends, nationwide protests against gun killings in schools where she lost 17 of her friends. 17 friends. I can ask you guys, if you had a schoolmate, would you accept one of your friends being shot in school by another friend? That's unacceptable. But these kids had to accept 17 kids that were shot to death in their schools. And by the way, over the last 10 years, something like 16,000 American kids were shot in school. So it's not a one-by-the-way incident. It's something that's been going on for years and years. Has anybody done anything about it? Nada. Why? Politicians. Yeah. So look at this beautiful picture. It's such a powerful picture. She's a 16-year-old girl, and she is delivering her speech and the petition to the most powerful man then, which is Donald Trump. Look at his body language. He's in the corner. He now realizes that's how powerful young people can be. By the way, when these kids incited kids to do a protest out of the school, during the school day, of course, the school administrators and headmistresses and headmasters said, if you do this protest during school hours, we're going to expel you. You know what the kids said? Fine, expel all of us. And you know how many kids followed her? 3 million kids across America did the protest. That's the power of youth. Once we're collective, we can do amazing things. Now, this is where another crazy idea that's not crazy anymore, something called conscious capitalism. And conscious capitalism is, as I've explained, where you run organizations and companies where you take care of every stakeholder, hence stakeholder orientation. Every stakeholder is never left behind. Whether it's your vendor, you don't squeeze them dry until the point that they make no more margins. You make sure that they prosper with you. Your staff, make sure that they grow with you and they're well paid, well taken care of so that they grow with you. Conscious leaders, so that everything that you do, you don't cut corners. If it means to put in a special system to make sure there's no pollution, you put that in even though it costs you more. Because in the long run, your profits are better and your profits are for a higher purpose. That's conscious capitalism. So every time I talk about this, especially to CFOs and CEOs, they say, Terry, I love your ideas. You know, they're so tree hugging, feel good. I feel so warm, so nice. But not very practical, you know, because you can't make money, this kind of thing. Yeah, you care about everybody, then where's the profit coming from? Yeah, very true. But if I give you a dare and tell you that I can show you real companies, some of them are listed on NASDAQ, that have made money using this 100% religiously, then I prove my point, right? Well, here we go. Chobani yogurt. You can see some of these products in Malaysia, but they're from America. And they're a $1 billion company producing yogurt sustainably. Patagonia outdoor gear, they have an advertising scheme that talks about don't buy their products unless you love the planet. Imagine you're so arrogant to tell people not to buy your product unless you love the planet. Guess what? They're a $1 billion company. And of course, all the way, women here will know Body Shop, yeah? Anita Roddick. She started this company years ago. She's passed away, but it is a $1 billion company. But it focuses on making sure that it doesn't harm the planet. No animals are hurt in the production of these products. A $1 billion company. So you're telling me that conscious capitalism doesn't work? Of course it works. Otherwise, the valuation will never be $1 billion. I challenge the CFOs who challenge me. How much is your company valued? I don't think even if it's $1 billion ringgit, these are $1 billion US companies. So Whole Foods was bought over by Amazon for $13.7 billion. And they're the ones who started the whole concept of conscious capitalism. So there you are. Yeah. We don't have funds to mitigate any of these problems. This is what the usual excuse. Terry, all these things that you want to do, we don't have money lah. Okay, let's look at how much the central banks across the world have raised in the last 13 years. Now, they have raised it through something called quantitative easing, which is basically printing more money in their individual countries. Guess how much they raised? $25 trillion. Is that small or big? Yeah. Out of that 25 trillion, the last 2 years, just under 18 months, they raised 9 trillion out of that 25 trillion, and that was to address the pandemic. So my question is, if they can see the pandemic is killing a percentage of people and they can raise $9 trillion, couldn't they raise money to save the planet that all of us live on? Where's your priority? Wake up, guys. Where's your priority? Guess what? Climate change mitigation requires a minimum of 300 million, yet they raise 9 trillion. So it means there is money. It's whether you want to put it there or not. Yeah, this is very, very awakening to listen to this. Now, change makers are mainly from the West, another myth. Why? Because the media focuses on people like Greta Thunberg. I have really respect for this young woman. With all due credit to her, she has actually woken up the world about climate change. But there are many, many Asian activists around the world, including Malaysia, who, again, are addressing the sustainable goals. But do we hear of them? Nada, because the media is not controlled by the East, it's controlled by the West. So third world countries are the hardest hit by climate change and human rights issues. And so we should have a much louder voice. And that's what my foundation is here to do. Help all of you get out there. Yeah. Serving humanity doesn't pay the bills. Yeah. Famous question, especially us parents. I think you should be a lawyer. Maybe you should be a scientist or a doctor and you earn a lot of money. You know, don't help humanity, because you help humanity is like working at NGO. Working at NGO, maybe you get 2,000 ringgit for the rest of your life. What kind of career is that? Not much of a career. Guess what? That mindset has to change. Salary scale professional serving humanity is on par with other public sector professional jobs. And I kid you not. And yet they actually find meaning, much better meaning than the people working today in professional corporate jobs. All these include scientists, researchers, doctors, you name it, all the professionals actually are today serving organizations, serving humanity. It may not be an NGO, it can still be an organization that brings change. Yeah. Now, poor communities cannot contribute. Again, another fantastic myth. Siluk village, I'll share the video later because the quality is not very good, in Arunachal Pradesh, India. Remember, they're very poor, but one day they decided that they couldn't live with all this cow dung anymore and all this filth anymore. And they got all their villages together and they have now become the cleanest village in the whole of India. See, mindset. Cannot do lah, can do. Today, they're the only zero waste village in India. And guess what? Other villages and provinces, hey, can you all come and teach us how to do this? Isn't that so beautiful? It can be done. It can be done. Again, it's impossible to do crazy things like this. The mayor of Sikkim state in India had this crazy vision. And his crazy vision was saying, Sikkim was basically the agricultural bowl of India. They're about the size of Selangor. The whole state is all about agriculture. And yet they were chemical agriculture. So one day the mayor said, no, I want to change all this into 100% organic. So all the farmers said, are you mad? To go to organic takes many years and costs a lot of money and we will have no profits for many years. He said, fine, if you don't want to go organic, there are many other states and provinces you can go to. Bye-bye. Guess what? The farmers stayed. And 2.5 to 3 years later, they are 100% organic. Today, it is the world's first 100% organic agricultural state. It has also been invited by the neighboring state, Ladakh state, to help them teach how to do this. You see, this mindset cannot lah. Why? Because it could be the agricultural chemical company saying, hey, make sure nobody goes organic, because otherwise our business goes to zero. See, he made a change. Aside from organic culture as a business, organic tourism is a huge draw. People want to go and stay there because there's no chemicals. You can camp in the middle of the field and have no pesticides. Isn't that amazing? Now, let's be the change maker. Now, a lot of people say, Terry, young people can only make change when they become adults and when they become graduates. What rubbish are we talking about? That's a limiting mindset belief. This little kid, and you should Google her, her name is Riley Habit. She started the Riley Toy Foundation when she was 4.5 years old. Today, I think she's about 10 or 12. And the foundation has been adopted by World Vision International. taking toys from America to poor kids in Africa. How old is she? 4.5. What were you doing at 4.5? I remember I was playing marbles. I didn't care about the world, but she did it. Yeah. And of course, we know Greta Thunberg. She walked youth across the world to do something about climate change. She also woke up the rest of the world. And guess what? She's on Time magazine. She's been nominated for a Nobel Prize. How old is she? Well, she started at 16, but she'll be around about 18 now. This young man called Boyan Slat. Now you see that machine is sitting in the Klang River, trying very hard to clean the Klang River of the filth that we throw in. And this young man created this company when he was a young man. Today he's now a young 20-year-old adult, but he raised billions or millions to run this company. Again, all these people have made change happen because they had a passion. Now let's look at Asia. This is just a small sample of many Asians doing amazing things. Isabel and Melati, they were both 10 and 12. They go swimming in their native Bali. And you guys been to Bali? They were swimming in plastic bags. And they said, no, this is my country. This is my state. I don't want to swim in plastic bags. Today, they're about 18 years old. They have convinced the mayor of Bali to ban single-use plastics. Is single-use plastics banned in Malaysia or in any state? Nada. But they've done it in the whole of Bali. See how powerful kids are. Yeah. This young boy, Kenneth Shinozuka, invented a center to save Alzheimer's patients because his grandfather had Alzheimer's, driven by passion, and he wanted to find a solution so his grandfather wouldn't die. This young man, again, he saw how people who had pancreatic cancer were suffering. He found a system basically to design so that the treatment was very accurate. Yeah. So all these are young people across the world. Yeah. So what can you do? I'm coming to the end. Well, many things you can do, but I'm just going to look at 3 areas. Number 1, just go and volunteer. And I tell you why you should volunteer. Because I was on a flight between Sydney and Melbourne, and I was sitting next to this Australian woman, and she asked me what I did. So I explained my foundation and all that. And she started to cry. I said, Madam, did I say something horrible that made you cry? She said, I'm crying because one of my good friends, she's very wealthy. She has all the Birkin bags in the world. She has multiple homes around the world. She has private jets and all that. But she's very depressed. And then one day, someone got her to volunteer. And then she decided to discard all her material things and use her money and her influence to help all the charities. And she's the happiest person she's ever met. You see how that changes? So go out and volunteer. There are tons of nonprofits and social enterprises, whether it's in Malaysia, whether it's regional, so many choices. Start living and inspiring your family to live sustainably with baby steps. A lot of people say, oh, Terry, trying to be sustainable is such a big thing, very hard to do. Small baby steps. I'm living in UK. Everybody by default has 4 dustbins with 4 different colors to put 4 different things every Thursday. It's not difficult. It's maybe 5 minutes of your time, but it's a mindset thing. We can all do this, small little steps. Yeah. And ultimately, we want you to help build professional careers at companies or organizations that serve humanity. Or if you can't find a company that suits you, go create one, be an entrepreneur. There are so many social enterprises, whether it's Pizza Eats or so many, they're all addressing issues in the world, and yet they're making profit. So it can be done, yeah? And then I want you to think about what your passion is, whatever it is, skew it to your skill set. So whatever your passion and skill set should be similar, and then look for something that you can work with or start a business that's financially rewarding. And the ultimate one is something that serves humanity. When you got 4 of this in line or in alignment, do you think that going to work is a chore? Do you think that you hate going to work on Monday mornings? No, you love going to work on Monday mornings because you found your purpose and you're rewarded for it. And all the degrees that you had and whatever training you had comes into play because it's your skill set. And of course, you don't have to worry about money. Now, this brings you to something I call, or the Japanese call, ikigai. Ikigai is Japanese philosophy where you do what you're good at, what earns you money, do what you love, do what the world needs, and everything comes into place. And if you take this chart, live by it, and you can start seeing how your life changes. And this is one of you that I'll leave with you. So my question, a lot of people said, are we all born altruistic or are we born evil? Well, Yale and Harvard did a study with babies. And this study, they actually had little puppets, and the puppets had different personalities. They were not human beings, just puppets. And some were evil, naughty, and some were nice, kind. And then after they did the puppet show, they left the puppets. The kids, the babies crawl and pick up the good puppets, not the evil, bad puppets. So we are altruistically already pre-designed. Unfortunately, our upbringing, our experiences change all that. And that's why at our foundation, we reach kids as young as 4. It's critical. Yeah. So what can I do? What can all of us do? Practice empathy, compassion, consciousness, and kindness. And Swiss, you hit the nail right on the head when you introduced me by talking about those little quizzes. And it's so critical because when you're dealing with people, doesn't matter where you are, organization, family, schools, church, when you're dealing with people, if you are that other person, place yourself in the other person's shoes. Would you like to be treated inhumanely or humanely? It's a very simple question. Obviously, the answer is very clear. So why are you treating that person inhumanely? Because we are all one. When you treat the other person badly, you're treating yourself badly. If you can understand that concept, it changes your mindset. So similarly, when you're dealing with the planet, why do we call planet Earth Mother Earth? Because Mother Earth is an entity. Yeah. So if you can think of Mother Earth as a persona, then if you were the planet, would you like to be treated badly, ravaged, pillaged, or destroyed? No. That's when consciousness kicks in. This is so critical for all of us. Yeah. So my last slide talks about, do you guys like to watch movies and read books? Yeah. Everybody says yeah. Very few people will say no, right? Well, thanks to Netflix, we can all stay at home and watch movies. But we are drawn to movies because we have this thing called protagonists. Now, if I put this here now, what can you guys see, right? You will probably see your face. On any screen, you will always see your face. And the reason why all of us love watching movies and reading books is because we're drawn by the hero protagonist in it, because we resonate with the hero, because all of us have a hero inside us, dying to come out. It's just our ego or whatever doesn't allow it to come out. Yeah. And so this is my last quote. There's an inherent desire in everyone to do good. My job is to help inspire you to find it. Yeah. So I leave you with that, because heart-centered leadership is the new superpower. And if you understand from the first slide that if all of us operate from a place of love and abundance, how beautiful the world can be. Thank you very much.